Are you exhausted fighting change? Anxiety is the resistance to life's flow. Discover impermanence, the ancient Buddhist secret to letting go. Watch now to find your peace. The anxiety of fixedness. Welcome to Echoes of Life. Take a moment to examine the subtle tension you carry, the anxious knot in your stomach, the racing thoughts that keep you one step ahead of the present. Where does this persistent anxiety truly come from? It does not spring from a lack of success or a deficiency of action. At its root, anxiety is born from one fundamental, often unconscious act of resistance: the resistance to change. We cling to stability. We demand certainty. We grasp onto the things we cherish: our health, our relationships, our success, and try desperately to wall them off from the inevitable forces of time and transition. When we perceive a threat to this fixed image of our lives, anxiety surges. We are fighting a losing battle against the very nature of the universe. The great teachers of the East, particularly in the Buddhist tradition, understood this struggle perfectly. They identified the ultimate, unavoidable truth that governs all existence: Anicca, the Pali word for impermanence. This is not a philosophy of doom or resignation. It is the radical realization that everything, from the mountain to the smallest thought, is in constant, vibrant flux. We have been taught that change is something to be managed or feared. Today, we invite you to realize that embracing impermanence is, in fact, the greatest secret to calming anxiety and unlocking genuine freedom. When you truly accept that nothing lasts, you liberate yourself from the exhausting effort of trying to hold on. Over the next few minutes, we will explore Anicca not as an abstract idea, but as a practical tool for daily peace. We will learn how clinging to a fixed self causes suffering, how fear of the future is simply fear of fiction, and how the simple acknowledgement that this too shall pass can diffuse your most intense moments of worry. This journey is about aligning your inner truth with the universal truth. When you stop fighting the flow of life and start accepting its beautiful, terrifying impermanence, the resistance that fuels your anxiety naturally dissolves. Let us begin to turn this ancient wisdom into your personal antidote to worry. Anicca, the universal law of change. Anicca, the law of impermanence, is the bedrock of Buddhist philosophy. It states simply and profoundly that everything that arises must also pass away. This is not just true for the grand cycles of the universe, the rising and setting sun, the changing seasons, but for every single particle of your experience. Your very body is a testament to Anicca. Every 7 years, nearly every cell is replaced. You are biologically a brand new person. Your thoughts are impermanent, lasting mere seconds before dissolving. Your emotions, joy, sadness, anger, are transient visitors. To resist this law is to wage war against reality. The problem, according to the Dharma, is not change itself, but tanha, or tirta clinging. We cling to what is pleasant, desperately hoping to freeze it in time. We cling to our aversion toward what is unpleasant, desperately hoping to push it away permanently. This frantic effort to make the fluid fixed is the definition of suffering. Imagine a river. You cannot step into the same river twice, for the water is always moving. Yet, we stand on the bank, demanding that the water we knew yesterday return to us today. This demand for stillness in a universe of motion is futile, and it is exhausting. The great liberation that comes from understanding Anicca is the realization that change is not a threat. It is an opportunity for renewal, because nothing is permanent. Every painful emotion, every setback, and every moment of difficulty is guaranteed to shift. If we embrace the truth of change, we stop investing our energy in maintaining the unmaintainable. This understanding shifts your perspective from one of fear to one of freedom. The moment you accept that the beautiful flower will fade is the moment you can truly appreciate its vibrant presence right now. The moment you accept that the difficult period is temporary is the moment you stop catastrophizing and start navigating. Anicca is not a pessimistic view. It is the ultimate optimistic realization that nothing is stuck. We transition now from observing the external world's change to acknowledging the continuous, deep impermanence of our own internal experience, the self. The illusion of the fixed self. When we think of impermanence, we often think of external things, relationships, possessions, jobs, but the most profound application of Anicca is internal, the realization of Anatta, or non-self. This is the understanding that your self is not a fixed, solid entity, but a dynamic, ever-changing process. Anxiety often stems from the fear that your future self will be unable to cope with a future challenge. We worry about losing our identity or failing to live up to our fixed personality. But the truth, according to Buddhism, is that your self is composed of 5 ever-changing aggregates: form, feelings, perceptions, mental formations, and consciousness. You are a verb, not a noun. You are not a fixed entity. You are a continuous stream of becoming. The realization of non-self is incredibly healing for anxiety. When you understand that you are not a fixed person, you liberate yourself from the burden of maintaining a rigid identity. You stop worrying about what a person like me should or should not do. You realize that the you who failed last year is not the you navigating the world today. Every experience transforms the aggregate, making you new. This non-clinging to identity allows for powerful resilience. When a setback occurs, instead of saying, "I am a failure," a fixed statement, you can observe a feeling of failure is arising and passing, a transient process. This simple linguistic shift moves you from being the victim of a fixed state to being the observer of a transient process. The anxiety we feel about the future is often a fixed self projecting into a fictional, fixed future. But the self that will meet that future challenge will be a stronger, wiser self, shaped by all the change between now and then. By accepting your own anattas, you stop seeing change as a threat to who you are and start seeing it as the very engine of your growth and evolution. You are a river flowing to the sea, not a statue bolted to the ground. Trust the current of your own becoming. Anxiety as resistance to the flow. Let's look precisely at how anxiety functions as an active resistance to impermanence. Anxiety is In essence, a demand for guaranteed outcomes. It is the ego trying to impose permanence onto a situation that is fundamentally fluid and uncertain. When you worry about a future event, a presentation, a relationship's stability, or a health outcome, you are not preparing. You are mentally demanding that the chaotic energy of the future be brought into the safe, fixed container of your control right now. This frantic mental energy generates the physical symptoms of anxiety: the rapid heart rate, the shallow breath, the tension, because the body recognizes this demand as a fight against an unchangeable, universal law. We are terrified of loss, which is the ultimate expression of impermanence. We fear the loss of love, the loss of security, and the ultimate loss of life. These fears are natural, but the suffering comes from clinging to the idea that these things should or could be permanent. The Taoist concept of Wu Wei, effortless action, offers a powerful counterpoint here. Wu Wei is the practice of aligning your action with the flow of the Tao, the way. Anxiety, conversely, is a way, or forced resistance against the Tao. It is rowing upstream, exhausting your chi on resisting the natural current of change. To move from resistance to acceptance, we must learn to acknowledge the anxiety without acting upon its demands for control. When the racing thoughts begin, pause, acknowledge the physical sensation of worry, but gently remind yourself, this feeling is impermanent. This demand for certainty is futile. Use your breath as your practical tool. When anxiety grips you, your breath becomes shallow and rapid, a reflection of your mind fighting. By intentionally deepening your breath and returning to the anchor, you signal to your nervous system that you are safe in this moment, regardless of the future's uncertainty. You are accepting the present reality, which is the only reality that is ever truly fixed. By learning to surrender to the inherent uncertainty of life, you cease to be a warrior fighting the tides and become a graceful sailor, adjusting your sails to the shifting winds. This acceptance is not passive resignation. It is the highest form of active intelligence. The practice of letting go, the hand and the sand. How do we practically apply the truth of impermanence in the heat of a moment? The answer lies in the ancient practice of lasmot, letting go. Imagine you are standing on a beach, holding a handful of dry sand. The sand represents something you desperately want to keep: a perfect moment, a relationship, or a phase of life. If you clench your fist tightly, determined to keep every grain, the sand, unable to sustain the pressure, begins to slip through the cracks of your fingers. The harder you grasp, the more you lose. This is the spiritual metaphor for clinging. The moment you open your palm and simply hold the sand gently, allowing the air to flow around it, you actually retain more. You are no longer fighting the nature of the sand. You are cooperating with it. This technique applies directly to your emotions and experiences. When a moment of joy arises, we often try to mentally cement it, thinking, I must hold on to this feeling. This act of clinging immediately introduces anxiety, because we know deep down it is impossible. The practice is to simply savor the moment fully, acknowledging its beauty, because It is passing. This shifts the experience from one of anxious retention to one of profound gratitude. Conversely, when a moment of intense pain or sadness arises, our instinct is to push it away. This is still clinging to the idea that you should be happy. The practice of impermanence is to acknowledge the pain's presence without judging it or demanding its immediate departure. Whisper to the feeling, "You are here now. You are impermanent. I will observe your journey." You are not letting go of the people or things themselves. You are letting go of the idea that they should be permanent. This is the radical freedom offered by Anicca. It allows you to engage with life fully without the heavy burden of trying to own or control it. Make a commitment to practice the open palm today. Whenever you feel yourself grasping, physically or mentally, gently open your hand and release the need to control. The fear of the future, a fictional story. Our most intense anxiety is almost always located in the future. We are not anxious about the present moment. We are anxious about the story our minds are writing about the future. We spend endless energy constructing fictionalized, often worst-case scenarios. This future you are panicking about does not exist. It is a mental construct, a narrative based on past fears and present uncertainties. The Buddhist realization is that the future, like the self, is fundamentally empty. Not empty of potential, but empty of fixed, predetermined reality. The future is pure potentiality, an open field of infinite possibilities. When we project anxiety onto it, we are trying to collapse that infinite potential into a single, terrifying scenario. This is an incredible misuse of our imagination. Think of the energy you waste on future-casting anxiety. Studies show that a vast majority of the things we worry about never actually happen. You are suffering now for a problem that is fictional. The practice of impermanence encourages us to recognize this mental game. When the fear of the future strikes, the fear of a bad outcome, of failure, or of loss, pause and label the mental activity. I am writing a negative story. This simple act of labeling takes the mind out of the future and anchors it back into the present moment where no danger actually exists. Instead of trying to fight the narrative, we learn to trust the void. The void, the uncertainty, is where all creativity and adaptability reside. The moment you embrace the idea that I do not know what will happen, and that is okay, you stop consuming the future and start enjoying the present. The antidote to future anxiety is not a guarantee. It is radical presence. When you are fully present, you are perfectly equipped to handle the tiny fragment of reality that exists right now. And when the next moment arrives, the self that meets it will be a self transformed by the lessons of the moment before. The future will take care of itself, moment by moment. Your job is to simply show up for the one you are in. The power of acknowledgement. This too shall pass. When faced with difficult emotions, physical pain, or psychological suffering, the wisdom of impermanence gives us our most potent tool, the power of simple, quiet acknowledgement. The legendary phrase, "This too shall pass," is not a platitude, It is a profound summary of Anicca. It reminds us that our experience is transient. The pain you feel now, the heartbreak you carry, the frustration that grips you, all of it is subject to the law of change. To acknowledge this is to inject a powerful, stabilizing truth into the heart of your suffering. Often, suffering is compounded not by the pain itself, but by our resistance to the pain. We suffer because we believe the pain is permanent, that the difficult situation will last forever, or that the negative emotion will never subside. This belief of permanence creates secondary suffering. The practice here is to use your breath and your awareness to simply hold the emotion in the light of impermanence. If anger arises, do not suppress it or act on it. Instead, sit with it and observe the physical sensations it creates in your body. Observe how the heat of the anger slowly shifts, how the tension in your jaw may soften, and how, inevitably, the peak of the emotion begins its subtle descent. We are practicing what is called not clinging to the experience. We acknowledge the full intensity of the pain, the sadness, or the grief, but we do not try to make it the defining feature of our reality. It is a passing cloud. Take a moment now and gently bring to mind any lingering worry or frustration you carry. Breathe into the sensation, and in the quiet space of your heart, simply whisper, "This too shall pass." Feel the subtle, powerful release that comes with that acceptance. You are not saying the feeling is unimportant. You are saying that its duration is not eternal. By applying this quiet acknowledgement, you allow the negative energy to complete its cycle naturally, without being fed by your resistance or fear of its permanence. You become the container, not the content. You become the vast, changing sky, not the brief, passing weather system. Final echoes, finding peace in the flow. We have reached the final echoes of our journey into Anicca. You have learned that the Buddhist secret to calming anxiety is not about finding an escape from change, but about realizing that change itself is the promise of peace. When you embrace impermanence, you stop wasting precious life energy on the impossible task of clinging. You free yourself from the tyranny of maintaining a fixed self and a fixed world. Instead, you develop the ultimate resilience, the ability to adjust gracefully to every shift in the wind. This is the ultimate act of alignment with the Tao and the Dharma, living life like a skillful sailor who knows that the constant motion of the water is what carries them forward. As you step back into the currents of your day, I offer you this simple challenge. For the next 24 hours, actively observe or 5 things in your life that are visibly changing. It could be the shadows in your room, the mood of a loved one, or the strength of a strong emotion. Acknowledge its presence, and then acknowledge its fleeting nature. This simple exercise will rewire your brain to see change as natural, not threatening. Thank you for joining us on Echoes of Life. If this message of freedom from fixedness resonated with you, and if you are ready to explore more ways ancient wisdom can simplify and stabilize your modern life, we invite you to take a moment, subscribe to our channel, and join a community dedicated to flow and presence. Like this video to help this profound secret of impermanence reach others who are currently struggling with the fear of change. And finally, share this with anyone who needs to be reminded that the pain they carry is not permanent and their peace is just a moment of surrender away. Until our next journey into the deep wisdom of the East, may you flow effortlessly with the river of life.